Over a year ago, I made a memory book for my brother's 60th birthday. It was the project that took me the longest ever to finish, and also the one that made me the most nervous because I really wanted it to be special. But it turned out to be one of my absolute favorite creations, and every time I visit my brother, I look through that book and I think, I kind of miss it. So today I'm finally making a similar journal, but this time it's for me. No pressure, no deadlines, just a chance to play and explore and revisit the techniques I loved from that project with a few new twists. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So let's start with the options I have for the cover. I wanted to use a vintage book for a cover, a hardcover, which I haven't done in a really long time. So I found these in my cupboard and they're absolutely stunning. Since I have two of them, I thought one of them would be a great choice since I have another one. But somehow I cannot bring myself to cut these up, especially because I would have to cut off the spine because this just isn't wide enough and I can't bring myself to do this. The other option was this cute little book. I love the square format. I love that it's small, but after having a close look at it again, I couldn't bring myself to cut this one up. And actually, I want to show you this in a little more detail because it is so darling. This is dated 1850. I love that it has a dedication here and some beautiful handwriting here. So it's called The Girl's Own Book by Mrs. Child, embellished with new woodcuts, and it's published in London. I mean, these images are so adorable, but I also want to read you something here from the preface. I really had to chuckle reading this. So this is addressed to parents. This little book has been compiled with an earnest desire to make it useful in all respects to its readers. But as I have relied on my own judgment and experience, there is therefore little doubt of numerous imperfections. Perhaps I have erred in trying to please all and may thus, like the old man in the fable, succeed in pleasing none. Some will say there is too large a portion of games. Others will smile at the direction for sewing and knitting. Some may complain that the frequent recommendation of active exercises will tend to make the children rude and disorderly. Others will think too much is said about gracefulness and elegance. Some will call the conundrums old. Others will say they are silly, and others that they should have been entirely excluded. I knew I could not avoid numerous criticism, and therefore I did not write with the fear of them before my eyes. In this land of precarious fortunes, every girl should learn how to be useful. Amid the universal dissemination of knowledge, every mind should seek to improve itself to the utmost. And in this land of freedom, as much time should be devoted to elegant accomplishments, refined taste, and gracefulness of manner as can possibly be spared from holier and more important duties. And in all countries, it is peculiarly necessary that daughters should be so educated as to enable them to fulfill the duties of a humble station, or to dignify and adorn the highest. This is the reason why I have mingled a little of everything in the girl's own book. This cracks me up, and there are some beautiful woodcuts in here. This reminds me of myself at the gym, just dressed a little differently. I love this. Stooping forward, bending backward. This is priceless. Look at this. Active exercises. Look. This is like me doing pull-ups or trying to do pull-ups. Oh my goodness, I don't think I can ever... Calisthenics! That's kind of what I'm doing. Some of the things I'm doing are definitely calisthenics exercises. Oh my goodness, I didn't even see this. Many people think them dangerous because they confound them with the ruder and more daring gymnastics of boys. And it is believed that they tend to produce vigorous muscles, graceful motion, and symmetry of form. Absolutely hilarious. Okay, moving on. I'm totally digressing. So, yeah, this is not gonna happen. I have to keep this book. My third option is this one here. And I guess this is what it's going to be. It has a good size. It's a little bigger than this one. It's smaller than this one. I kind of feel like, who is it, Goldilocks? Choosing her bed. I'm going to choose this book. It has a beautiful spine as well. I will keep that when I cut it off. It is damaged here in the back. It is actually completely torn, but that's okay. It's going to be a vintage junk journal or journal. Look, here it's coming apart. So this one I can definitely manage to cut apart. It has these super thin pages that tear very easily, that are very brittle, and they probably will break if I fold them. Yeah, here you can see the state of them. So let's do this. If you know how to separate the pages from the cover, feel free to skip ahead. There's no new tricks here. We're just cutting down on one side, flipping this around, cutting off the other side. We won't be needing this block. So now we have this. Next, we take a ruler, preferably a metal one, and we cut along the spine. So that's the back. And there's the front. So I have this box here, which contains some book parts. This is where the spine is going to go. So I keep here spines and other beautiful pieces of books that can be used in journals. I don't use them enough, honestly, but they're fun to collect, and one day I will use them. Next, I'm just going to take scissors and tidy up those edges. Cut away any excess here. Make sure it's nice and straight. Same thing for the back cover. There we go. Now I could just use the cover like it is. I would probably put something on the back here. But what I really liked with the other cover was that I enlarged it with another cover underneath, which made it really sturdy. And I really like the way it feels. So I want to do something similar here, but this time I don't really have a cover that was wide enough to go underneath here. So instead of using another vintage book cover to put underneath, I'm just going to take a thicker piece of cardboard. This is left over from a paper pad. So my whole piece is 28.5 centimeters. So half of that is going to be 14.25. So our cover is going to be this wide. I think that's perfect. Now the trickiest part, for me at least, is to get a similar color to the cover here. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, but obviously it needs to match my cover in some way. So I want to paint these two panels, and I'm going to try to mix colors together that will work with this cover. This is something I'm not very experienced in. So I took out these 3 acrylic colors, titanium buff, burnt umber, and raw umber, in the hope that I can get something that will work. Let's start off with the burnt umber. Let's add some raw umber. And I think that's going to be fairly dark. Just going to use my little foam brush, which is soaking up a lot of the paint. So this is very brown. It needs, I think, more of this. Whoa, that was a lot. Let's add some of the titanium buff. I'm assuming I will need quite a lot of paint to cover both these panels. I think using the foam brush was not the best idea. Definitely not the best idea. Don't do this. Use a regular brush. Not so bad, actually. I mean, for the first try, not bad at all. I'll just add a little bit more of the burnt umber. Needed a little more warmth. Not bad, Barbara. I'm proud of you. Given that I really have no experience with mixing a lot of colors, this is really not bad. So wearing my rubber gloves for this time, I'm gonna do better than last time. I'm gonna do the edges first because that just makes a lot of sense. Much easier to do that when you can actually still grab the dry panels, wouldn't you say? Learning by doing. I just re-watched the video from last year just to remind myself what not to do. And also this time, instead of using a brush, I'm going to try it with a brayer. Not sure if that's a great idea. It doesn't want to roll on this glass surface, but it does roll here, so yeah, this is good. So I dried these with my heat gun, and as you can see here, the paint did not cover everything, so I'm just going to go around the edges one more time with my foam brush and make sure that everything is covered. And now the issue I have is there's not enough paint left, but if I mix more, it's never going to have exactly the same shade. We're just gonna work with what we have and hope it's enough to cover this. Because we also have to do the inside at least. Well, it'll be okay because on the inside we just have to do the very edges because I will be covering the insides with probably cardstock. So you'll really only see the outermost edge. We're okay. But let that be a lesson for you. Mix enough paint so you don't run into that problem. So once that is dry for the inside, I'm just gonna go around one more time and make sure that all of my edges are really covered well. I loved the texture that my previous cover had, so I want to do that again, but I want to be a little bit smarter about applying the texture this time. So I'm using a stencil that is large enough to cover the whole cover instead of trying to do it in pieces and then having to wait for it to dry in between, etc., etc. So I chose these 2 stencils and I was trying to decide which one I like better. So we have to imagine that the cover will be over it, so we'll only see that outer portion of it. And I just think this one here, this one is by PM Artist Studio, by the way. I like it a lot, but I almost think it's too busy. So I think this one is a lot calmer, and I think I'll go with that one. So I don't have to worry about the middle. Although I think I do need to worry about the middle just because using texture paste is going to raise the edges. So if some of it is raised and some of it is not, I'm not going to have an even surface to glue this on. I could obviously use like some foam tape in the middle, but I don't know that that's going to be exactly the same height. It's going to be higher. I'll just do the whole thing. I think that will make my life easier. And I'm going to use this texture paste Black Opaque by Ranger. And I really hope it's not too dry. I want to use the black because I haven't used it. And I'm afraid it's going to dry out on me before I use it, which would be a pity. And of course, it's fun to try something new because on my last cover, I used white texture paste. And I already picked out the color I want to use to emboss the texture paste. This needs to go on right after the texture paste is on it because otherwise it's going to be too dry and this won't stick. So this is ready to go. Let's do it. These circles don't have to be very smooth. I actually like it if they have a little bit of texture on them. This actually is working quite well. I just hope that the embossing powder is going to stick on it. I don't know why I'm so skeptical of that. I think because with my other cover, I waited just a little bit too long with the white texture paste and then it was too dry, so my embossing glaze wouldn't stick. And this one just kind of seems drier from the beginning, so that's why I'm worried about it. But worrying isn't gonna help. We just have to try it. Let's see what happens. The edges are kind of tricky because I do want to get those. Okay, let's take this off. Oh, it looks so cute. And let's just make sure the edges are okay. I'm sure I could sand them off once it's dry as well, but I think this is easier. Okay, and now we have to be fast and add the embossing glaze. So this I'm only gonna put on the edge. Oh no. It's sticking to the acrylic paint as well. Why? The paint is dry. Oh no, that's not what I wanted. What do we do? I did not anticipate that problem. Okay, so I'm going to take a fluffy paintbrush and yeah, actually that's fine. I can just go around. Whoops, didn't want to go over that. Wait, I need it on that. I didn't see there was a circle there actually. Okay, so we're just gonna have to swipe around these. So maybe I should also tell you which stencil the one is that I actually used here. So it's by Ranger and Delusions, Diane Reevely. It's called Coins Large and has the number DYS 78012. So let's heat these up, I would say. I have air dried this, so that should be good to go. Okay, so these are all embossed now. If you've never embossed on texture paste, please note that it takes way longer to melt the powder than if you do it on like a regular surface. So don't think that your heat tool is not working or the powder is old or something. It just takes longer. Okay, so we have these. They are just a little bit bent from the heat. I might put them under some books for a while to flatten them out completely. But let's just look what this would look like. Oh wow, that's a lot. Don't know if that's too much. I think I will sleep over this. I'm not sure I'm loving this, to be honest, because it kind of takes away from the main cover. I will be putting something else over this, so maybe that will help. Let's see if we can save this. So the first thing that came to mind to put here is one of these Tim Holtz, I think they're called quote chips. These are quite thick. This would be a great one. Even the size is nearly perfect, but of course the colors don't work at all. But this inspired me to look further into what kind of sentiments I have, and I came across two that might fit, and these are really old. These are by 7 Dot Studio. I don't know if they even make these anymore. These are called word stickers, Lost and Found. So one that I think would work well is Confidential. Yeah, that size would work. Or even the scripted page. Or I think this is from the same sheet. None of these colors work. Record the Story, I think would be amazing. Window to the Soul would be another really good one. I think Record the Story is what I'm feeling the most here. So how do we make this work? The coloring is off actually. So maybe instead of using this, we just use the words and we stamp it ourselves. But I'm not sure that, yeah, it's not gonna fit. It's too long if I stamp it with these clickable stamps. I do also have this roller stamp. You can find one of these linked below from Amazon Germany. These are definitely smaller than these, like half the size. But here the problem is that here I'm missing one letter. So record the, then S-T-O, or 2 letters I'm missing actually, which means that I won't be able to line it up as perfectly as I want it for a cover. Those are the issues of a perfectionist. Let's try it on a scrap paper and then we'll see if we can make that work. It's not the worst. I could make the distances between the words shorter. That would definitely fit here. It's a handmade journal, actually. I like the look better than something already like printed professionally, you know what I mean? So I found this piece of corrugated cardboard from packaging. Let's try the following. Let's first cut this down. This is super uneven. I'm not going to be able to stamp on that and have that come out well. Okay, let's find something else. Okay, I found this piece of fairly thick cardboard. This is definitely long enough. Okay, that will fit in here. So before I make a decision on what color to paint this, I want to see if I can gold emboss the sentiment, because I'm not sure how well we'll see the letters with this embossing powder. So let's try that first. Just gonna do the story. This is my embossing stamp pad in clear. That actually might be okay. The S is not great, but you could still read it. Can we read it if we add it to a dark background? Yeah, why not? Okay, that helps me in my decision. So I'm going to paint this in burnt umber, which is fairly close to the color we have here. This is maybe just a tiny bit more red, but I think that will be fine. I think I'll need more than one coat on this. Okay, it's dry, so I'm ready for coat number 2. All right, it's dry. Let's give this a go. I'm gonna start with story. I'm quite nervous. I don't have a good feeling about this, to be honest. So it's kind of hard to center it. Okay, I think we need to emboss this first because it's going to take me too long to spell out those other two words without this drying first. Okay, so it's there. Let's emboss it because I know myself, otherwise I will smear it. Okay, that's all right. We could also say own your story instead of record your story. That would be shorter. I actually like that better. Let's test it and see if the spacing is correct. Yeah, I think that should be okay. You can already see that your is going up. Do I care? If I wipe it off, I know it's not gonna work because if I stamp over it, even though I've wiped it off, from experience, I know the embossing powder will stick to that previous word as well. Don't want that. So maybe it's better to just go with the wonky. Okay, what do we think? W is not great, but we can read it, right? And I actually surprisingly like that it's so imperfect. The color is fine. It could have been a little bit more reddish, but it will work. Does it need a gold border? No, I don't think it does. So are we brave enough to glue this on? Let's think about that for a moment before we make anything permanent. So I still think that this around here is a lot for this cover underneath. So what we could do is like I did with the other cover, I added some modern elements to this part of the cover, which I really loved. So we could try to do that to add some more elements, gold embossed to this, to just make them more cohesive, these two parts. So I pulled out a couple of things that might work, and I have two here in particular that might work. One is this here, which is the first stamp set that Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz brought out. It's called Nature's Moments with the number CMS001. So I was gifted this by dear Louise Heinzel. Because there's some flowers here, I thought maybe if we could emboss some flowers. I don't know. Maybe not. Nope. The other idea was from this stamp set, Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz Note Quotes CMS 463. I was thinking in particular of this square here or the circle, because we have circles, but maybe that's too much circle going on. And that's why I didn't want to glue this down yet, because some of these might go underneath partially. That would continue with the circle theme. That might actually be better than the squares, which would also be fun because we have rectangles here, right? Two of them. So could have it like overlapping. No, I'll go with the circles. That just seems more cohesive to me. So I'm glad I didn't glue that down yet. And then I'll also add some of those circles to the back panel. Maybe we should start with that, just in case it doesn't work like I want it to. Then at least it's only on the back cover. So I want to do this fast. Oh no, I have a feeling it's drying really quickly. Go, Barbara, go. Yeah, I think it'll be okay. Yep, that actually worked. Do we need one more? I think we need one more. Oh, and I see here that some of the middle stamped as well. You see these bits in the circle? We don't want that. I just want the outer circle. Okay, so I'm absolutely loving this. This is a beautiful back cover. For the front, I think these kind of circles in gold would be too much, to be honest. But why not try the circles with clear embossing powder? And if we find that that's not enough, we can still contemplate the gold or maybe an embossing glaze, which would be translucent and not so in your face as an opaque embossing powder. So let's first try the clear embossing powder. This time I'll try to get rid of the gel on the inside from the beginning. This is tricky. Where do you put them? I am totally overthinking this, I realized. Still got some there. Now I know that looks like a lot, but since it's going to be clear, I think it's okay. So here we go. I do like them a lot like this. Am I completely happy with it? I don't know yet. Maybe we need to add some other gold accents, smaller ones, on the cover as well. I think I need to walk away and then look at it with fresh eyes. Okay, it's the next morning and I'm looking at this with fresh eyes, and I think the first thing I need to do is really put this to the side because we're never going to see these together like this, and it's just a lot at once. So if we only look at this one, I still think that it's not balanced. There's so much gold here and not enough here. So I want to add some more gold here, and I found 2 stamps and I'm trying to decide which one I want to go for. So one is from this fun set here, designed by Seth Apter. It's from Paper Artsy. So the site is www.paperartsy.com. And I guess this is the number, ES823. Yeah, that's the only number I see here. And I was gifted this on the retreat by dear Macarena. So thank you again. What a fun set. And I'm thinking of this stamp right here. Haven't tried it yet. Don't know if it's going to be too much. So that's one option. The other, a lot more subtle option would be one of these stitched circles. They're really fun. I wish I could tell you where they're from. I've had them for years and I don't remember. I'm so sorry. I never kept the packaging. That was before I had a YouTube channel, so I didn't care. That's what that would look like. These I know would work very easily, but I'm so tempted to try these because they're just so much fun. So I think what I'm going to do is try this on a separate piece of paper and cut it out and see if that's going to be too much on here, which it really might be. Obviously, we wouldn't see the white middle, but just to get an idea, actually, I really like it. I thought it would be a lot more blobby, but actually it's not. I like that you can see the individual circles here, you know what I mean? It's not one big golden blob. So I'm actually really liking this, and I think it's a nice balance to these here. I'm excited. Let's try one first. This is a lot more blotchy than on the paper. I don't know if you can see that. I am worried that this is going to be too much. Well, it's embossed, it's embossed. Now we could still get rid of it. Let's do it. Gonna risk it. Yeah, it's fine. Maybe just 3 in total, otherwise it's gonna be too much. But yeah, I'm okay with that. Whew. I just remembered a long time ago, I made myself one of these little, I don't know what you'd call it, like a little pouch with, I think baby powder, or is it cornstarch? I don't remember. I think it's baby powder. And this is just a nylon from a stocking. I think I have 2 layers here. So this should keep the embossing powder from going all over. So why don't we try that? I don't think I've ever used it and I totally forgot about it. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay, the next one will go down here. Oh my gosh, I should have put this first. Okay, we'll try it for the next one. What a dork. See, because it comes in the middle. It shouldn't. Okay, so there's number 2, and we need a third one somewhere up here. So let's get this right, Barbara. So I'm assuming the white will come off. I'm hoping that the embossing powder will actually stick where it's supposed to stick. I should have probably tried this somewhere else first. Maybe get rid of some of it. It seems like there's a lot on here. See, I've never worked with this before. Maybe the cover isn't the best place to start. I don't think that made any difference. Okay, let's wipe that baby powder off. Yeah, I do think it's more cohesive now, but I also think it needs more. It's still not balanced for me, but I think these would be too much if I keep adding those. So let's add some of the small stitched circles. I'm not going to use that powder now. Okay, so this works for me now. Now I think it's fairly balanced. I mean, it's not balanced. There's still a lot more here, but I think it works now. I have the right amount on this cover panel as well. And this Own Your Story also symbolizes for me kind of the you do you. So maybe for you this doesn't work at all, but for me this works, and that's the beauty of all of us being so unique and doing things differently. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to move this over, and I will do that on the back as well. I'll move that more to the outside because of the binding I want to do. So imagine the spine is going to be in between here, like so. And I'm actually going to punch holes here with my cinch, like I've done for my owl journal. And I probably will do a similar binding, which was canvas and fabric on top. And then I don't know yet if I'm going to put it on the outside, like here, or on the inside. I can still decide that later, but you don't need to do the holes. You can do this type of binding by just gluing it on. Or if you want the holes but don't have a cinch, which is this hole punching machine, then you could also punch your holes with a crocodile. It is going to be more challenging, but it is doable. If you want to see more about this owl journal, I have videos on how I made that. I think it's a little mini series as well. Then you can find that linked below. I also considered whether I want to cover up this raw edge here of my book, but I decided against it because I do like the look of just seeing what this is from, you know what I mean? Like I like the rawness of it. So I'm going to leave that. So my next step, just trying to think, do I cover the insides first and then punch the holes? Definitely want to punch the holes before I attach these panels because that will just be easier. Yeah, the holes need to go through the papers on here as well. So let's find something to cover the insides with. So I was just trying to figure something out with these leftovers that I have from a Tim Holtz memorandum paper pad. I was going to cut some of these parts out and stitch them together and put those there. But then I remembered something even better, something more my own. So these are amazing printouts that Kimmy, who was the host of my recent retreat in Salt Lake City, had printed on her office printer with a laser jet on some amazing off-white cardstock, really thick. I don't know what cardstock it is. It's really sturdy. It is even more sturdy than this one here by Tim Holtz. And I think it's perfect for the cover. She printed this two-sided, so I'm going to have to figure out which sides to use. But this is from my Splatter and Paint digital kit. I will link it below for you. And I never actually use my regular background pages because I usually use the calendar versions. Like here in my planner, I always print the calendar versions to use. But I never actually use the background pages as they are. So this is a great opportunity to do that. And by the way, if you're interested in my planner and seeing more of that, I have my upcoming Plan With Me November video coming up next week. So I will figure out what to cut out here, and then we'll add that to our panels. Okay, so this is what my inside panels look like now. I have inked up the edges with ground espresso distress oxide. So on this one it says, make a mess, make magic. And on the back side it says, in every splatter there's freedom. In every smudge there's emotion. That's what makes it art. So these are on the digital. I didn't put these on afterwards. So then I'm going to punch my holes with my cinch. But as I said before, if you want to make a cover like this, if you want to follow along and you don't have a cinch, don't worry, you don't need it. I have also in the past just glued in my spine without the holes. So mine is by We Are Memory Keepers. I think they have them from other companies as well. It was kind of an investment. I don't use it super often, but I'm so happy to have it because even the few times I use it, it's really nice to have. And the most important thing when you punch holes in a cover is to punch them in the right side, which may seem obvious, but it is so easy to mix it up, and I have done that in the past. So unfortunately this handle is now in the way. It's very hard to do this on camera so that you can see it well. So this is the inside front cover. So my holes need to be on this edge here. So I'll turn it around. Then there's a lever here that you can move. So I want my holes centered, of course. So you see there's not enough holes to go along the whole edge here, which isn't really a problem. I could either just do it like that, or I could do it in two, which I think is what I'll do. Yeah. So I'll move this all the way in. And then of course I have to do the same thing on the other side, so I need to remember what I'm doing. So I'll punch it first once, and then we'll punch that last piece. So I'll just go down. And now you see it has the holes here, so super convenient. And now to line these up again to make the next holes exactly where I want them to be, there's a little thingy here where you can position the hole before the last one you punched. So in my case it would be this hole here, the second to last one I punched. I put it in there. So I set that to go in there, and then I push this lever down, and then I know that these holes will be lined up with these. Now obviously I don't want to punch all the way. I could actually, because it just so works out that these 4 would go onto the cover. If I only wanted the 3, if I wanted this gap here, then I would just take this one thing here and move it out, so that way this one is not going to punch. I think I'll leave it out, so I'm not going to punch this hole here. So I'm just punching 3 more holes now, these 3. And there we have a perfectly lined up hole situation. So I do have a little more distance on top here than on the bottom, but I'm totally fine with that. So I just need to do exactly the same thing for the second panel. Again, making sure that I'm punching on the right side. So this is the inside, so I need to punch here. So again, I'll start here. I want to be sure to push this back in because I do want all of the holes punched. And remove it and put the thingy here in the second to last hole again. Take the fourth one out again and punch the rest of the holes. So once you understand how this works, it's really cool. And of course, it doesn't only punch holes. You can also add spiral wires using this machine, but that is not for today. So we have our holes. These now help us to understand where we need to add our panels. So in between we'll have our fabric / canvas spine. And if you want to follow along, you don't need canvas. If you don't have one, you could also use some thicker packaging or maybe even glue 2 pieces of paper bag or an envelope on top of each other. I like the sturdiness of the canvas, but it's really not necessary. You can also add fabric on top of 2 or 3 layers of something thinner. So this is our front. This is our back. And now you see it matters even less that this is completely torn because we're adding it onto this cover. So now I'm going to center this panel between my holes and this outer edge, because again, I don't know, actually I'll put it even a little more to the right, because if I do it like with the owl journal where I have the fabric piece on top, it's obviously going to overlap from the holes a little bit. So let's do that. That gives us more room to play with. So I'm going to glue this on again with my Beacon 3-in-1 glue because it's a very strong glue. You use whatever strongest glue you have. So I'm going to lay some heavy books on top of this for a few hours so that this really grips and so that my panels will be flat in the end. So I'd love for you to follow along to make your own fun cover. And then in 2 weeks, we will continue with the inside of our journal. Hope to see you back here. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.